Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing my June wrap up. So these are all the books that I have read this month. I feel like I managed to read quite a bit considering that I had exams this month, probably more than I should have, but you know. So yeah, I'm just going to start with the book that I'm still currently reading at the moment. I'm nearly finished it, there's just a few chapters to go, but it is Early Christianity, A Brief History by Joseph H. Lynch, and this is a textbook that I have to read for uni for the upcoming semester for a history paper. This has been really interesting. It's designed for like beginners to the subject, so it's been really good for me, and each chapter is just kind of on a different aspect of early Christianity or a different time period. It goes over the like pagan religion that was going on at the same time, which is also really interesting, and just who all the important people were and how everything got started and how everything got spread to other countries and things like that. So this is a really interesting read if it's a topic that you're interested in. Would recommend. The lowest rating that I had this month was 2 stars, which is not very good, and that was The Trial by Franz Kafka. I was reading this one this month as a buddy read with Olivia from insert bookish title, so I will link her channel down below. I am not a very good buddy reader, just throwing it out there. If any of you guys ever ask me to do a buddy read, I suck because I kind of just read the book and then forget that I'm like buddy reading it, so meh, sorry Olivia. But I really didn't enjoy this book. I'm kind of sad because I bought it like a long time ago and I thought that I was really going to enjoy it because I liked Metamorphosis by Kafka, but this one just didn't do it for me. It's kind of a parable about the justice system and like all the red tape that goes along with it, and it's Alice in Wonderland-esque, but in a bad way, like for all the wrong reasons. Basically everyone in this book, it just talks a whole lot of nonsense. They say a whole lot without actually really meaning anything or making any sense whatsoever. It went on for too long in my opinion, and the characters and the storyline were just not enough to sustain me at all. I just really didn't get it. Also, inexplicably and rather irritatingly, the main character, a male protagonist, every single woman, every single one that he came across threw herself at him, and it was really weird and annoying. So yeah, I really didn't like this. I think it just wasn't for me, but the reason I gave it a 2 star instead of 1 star is that Kafka is undoubtedly a very good writer. The writing in this was still amazing, even though I hated the content of the book. This was basically written like as close as possible to how dreams play out, you know, when you're dreaming and everything kind of seems normal and then something really weird just happens out of nowhere, like everything just like creeps together and it gets really weird, but it kind of like, you kind of just go along with it anyway. Like that's kind of how this is written, and I thought it was really clever. Like you'll have a really ordinary thing and then suddenly like someone will just appear or whatever. Like it was done really well. So if you're into that kind of writing, I think you might like this, but I just, like for me, that kind of writing cool, but it still needs to have good characters or like a good story or something. So yeah, can give credit to his writing, but I really didn't like this book much. Next I have a few 3-star reads for the month. The first one was The Fat Man by Morris Gee. This one I have a full spoiler-free review on, which I will link down below if you want to hear more about this one. But Morris Gee is a New Zealand author. This is a well-known children's book by him, and it's basically about a kid who steals something from a guy and ends up being forced to rob a house with this guy, and then the guy shows up at his house trying to make friends with his parents and stuff, and he's too scared to tell his parents what's going on, and it's kind of like really dark and twisted and horrible, and not really in a fun way. So I didn't love this book. It's like well written and stuff, but just again wasn't really for me. Like it's just a bit grim. Then the next 3-star read that I read this month was The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. This is one that I was really looking forward to. It's a YA contemporary that afterwards I learned that it's actually semi-autobiographical for Sherman Alexie because he based some of it on experiences that he had as a child. I feel like teenage boys would love this book. It's just got that kind of humor to it, and the writing style was really great. It's like really honest and funny, and there's also these really cool cartoons in here that are amazing. Things like that just make a book so much more fun to get through as well. So there's like all these cartoons and stuff and little drawings and doodles and things, because the character is kind of written like his diary, so it's like as if he's drawing these little cartoons for you as well. So I really liked that. And the basketball game scenes were done really well. The kid in this plays basketball quite well, and the basketball scenes were like really energetic and tense, and like they had you in suspense and like on the edge of your seat, like who's going to win the game and stuff, and I just thought they were done really fantastically. So I feel like if you're like into sports and things, you might enjoy this as well. Just for me, I think it again wasn't really a book for me personally. The humor was really not to my taste. It was quite like crude and just like teenage boy-y, which I'm not really into, and also I would throw out a trigger warning for alcoholism. There are some really serious issues dealt with in this book, which is a really good thing. Like, I think teenagers like need that, and it raises awareness on certain issues and things like that. But for me personally, I really don't like reading about alcoholism, so I kind of wish that I had given this one a miss a little bit. Like, I had to read it for uni, but I just don't, it's just a subject I don't like reading about. So for me, yeah. The other 3-star read for me was Antony and Cleopatra by Shakespeare. This is the anthology that I read it out of, and I've marked the beginning and the end of that play in here. It was quite a short play, which made it quite fast to get through. I read it and I watched a play of Antony and Cleopatra on YouTube as well, just so that like the whole thing sunk in a bit better, just because Shakespeare can be quite hard going, and Shakespeare I find is always like hard to get into and like get your head around and stuff, but once you're into it, like probably like halfway through it, I was just like really into the story, which was cool. This play, so dramatic. It's like probably, I feel like one of the most dramatic Shakespeare plays that I've ever read. Someone said in my TBR, I think, that they like it was comparative to them to Romeo and Juliet, and I can kind of see why. Basically, I would say that Cleopatra was a really like vibrant character. I didn't like love her or anything as a person, but I think she was just a very like distinctive, memorable character. Antony was stupid. He made so many dumb decisions. I'm just like, mate, what are you doing? But I really enjoyed this play somewhat. I gave it 3 stars just because I feel like I'm not like a Shakespeare person. Like, I don't love reading Shakespeare. It was a bit of a chore, but the actual like story of the play I thought was really like just over the top dramatic, which was kind of fun. Then I have kind of a 4-star read. It's more like 4.5 because I was really torn with this one. It was like really amazing. I don't know if it was like 5-star amazing, but I feel like it was better than a 4-star, so I'm going with like 4.5. And this is Dream Hunter by Elizabeth Knox. This is book 1 of the Dream Hunter duet. The second book is called Dreamquake, I think, so I'm definitely gonna have to read that ASAP because I really enjoyed this one. It's a YA fantasy and it's just like amazingly intricate and detailed and like a really cool world. And I would say it's kind of a cross, like if you like urban fantasy you might like this because it's based in a world similar to ours, and then the like dream world is like a different thing. But I would also say that it's kind of dystopian because there's this like political stuff going on as well. And then I would also say it's kind of like historical fiction because it's based in a world like ours but like in the 1920s, and so yeah, it feels a little bit historical as well, which is nice. I also found out that Elizabeth Knox is actually a New Zealand author because I was asking you guys if anyone had read this and no one really had, and yeah, it's probably because Elizabeth Knox is a New Zealander. She was also apparently New Zealand's first female jockey, which is kind of impressive and kind of awesome, so yeah. Dreams really fascinate me. I'm just fascinated by that idea of like stories based around dreams and stuff, so I think that's why I liked this so much. It really plays with the idea of like how dreams could be used or misused. It was really mysterious. It kept me guessing the whole way through. The ending was really satisfying as well, which is always nice. And it still left room for a sequel without like leaving too much unresolved. There's a character called Rose in this book who I really liked. She's like just so not afraid to speak her mind at all. She'll just say whatever comes into her head, and she's a really like vibrant kind of person. The other character, Laura, who's kind of like the protagonist, I guess, she more like keeps to herself. Like, you don't always know exactly how she's feeling and what her motivations are and that kind of thing, but I feel like that's just a reflection of her character being a bit more reserved, so I think that kind of like worked really well. There's also a non-human like sidekick called Noun that I really liked. One thing that I didn't love about this book was just the lack of creativity with names. For example, one of the places in this book is called The Place. And then there's another place in this book called Door Handle. Not very impressive, and I wish that a little more effort had gone into the names of the locations of this book. Aside from that though, I highly recommended this. I was completely obsessed when I was reading it, and as soon as I finished it, I really wanted to just start rereading it from the beginning again, and I can't wait to get my hands on Dreamquake because I just am like, I feel obsessed with this book. And the final book that I read this month that I gave 5 stars to was a reread, and it was The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. This is one of my all-time favorite classics. It was written in the 1940s, I think, and it's about a kid who gets kicked out of school and then spends a few days alone roaming around New York, and it's kind of totally like a character driven story. It's just about his observations of different people and his interactions with different people, and like what his mindset is like, and like his headspace and what's going on with him. He's a bit screwed up and a bit depressed and a bit moody and things. A lot of people don't like this because it's so like teenage angsty, and I thought I might feel that way now because when I first read it I was in high school, but kind of somewhat unfortunately I can still really relate to Holden Caulfield. I read this and was like, yes, I feel you on so many of those things. So yeah, I really recommend this if you haven't read it yet. It's like quite a short read as well. The only thing I would say, if you're fully a like plot driven story kind of person, you might not like this book because it is just character driven, which is typical of J.D. Salinger. It's just how he writes, I guess. It's just what he's interested in. Those were all of the books that I read this month. Thank you guys for watching this, and I will see you guys with another video in a couple of days. Bye.